Hello, I'm Ben. Welcome to the channel. So today I'm going to talk about what the Food and Drug Administration did recently. They banned a dye, red dye number 3, which was a synthetic dye that gave foods and drinks bright red cherry colors. And I live in Texas, and in Texas there's a drink called Big Red that's kind of like Dr. Pepper in Texas. It's been a drink here for decades that people grew up on drinking. And that red number 3 is one of those ingredients that's in that pop. Now, in a soda like that, you already have the sugar anyway. But it's interesting to see that this is finally coming to pass, that this is being banned. I expect with Trump's new presidency, with Kennedy being in this food czar situation where they can ban. There are foods in America that we eat that are banned in 50 countries around the world. Okay, and I shouldn't say foods, they're actually food products. It's not really food. What's interesting about that, if you look at the wood industry, one of their largest products is called food grade pulp, which is cellulose wood pulp that our bodies can't digest. It's put into food. So it's interesting to see that the Center of Science and Public Interest is finally getting after this. They actually submitted this request for this dye to be banned back in 2022. And this story was written by Berkeley Lovelace Jr. This came out a couple of days ago on NBC News. And it says the FDA bans number 3 artificial dye in beverages, candies, and other foods. And so when I scroll down to try to get the information about the FDA cannot authorize a food additive or color additive if it has been found to cause cancer in human or in animal. This is what Jim Jones said, who's the FDA's Deputy Director for Human Foods. Evidence shows cancer in laboratory male rats exposed to high levels of this FD&C red number 3. So when you ask what red 3 is, it was basically approved for use in foods in 1907, and it's made from petroleum. So the same things plastics are made from. The FDA move to ban the dye has been in the works for decades. The agency first became aware that the additive was possibly carcinogenic following a study in the 1980s that found tumors in male rats who were exposed to it in high doses. It removes unnecessary hazards from the American food supply, and we welcome that action even though it should have occurred more than 3 decades ago. This is a big win for consumers that a cancer-causing chemical is finally going out of the food supply. It is long overdue. So there's a lot of comments like that around that. But revoking the authorized use of red number 3 is an example of the FDA using risks and science-based authority to review the safety of products in the marketplace. So here's my thoughts on this. If you're eating stuff other than meat and vegetables, you have the risk of things like this being in your food. It's interesting, when you look at the cancer mortality rate in the United States, it's consistently fallen year over year. And some of that comes from medications, some of that comes from how we handle cancer now, but a lot of that comes from the way people are eating. A lot of folks have gone back to farm-raised foods, non-processed foods. Everyone's heard of the anabolic diet or the carnivore diet or keto. In all of those, you would eat less of these materials. And those things have been very popular since about 2016. And so when you look at the cancer mortality rates from 2000 down to 2022, they have been reducing year over year. So it says the survival rate for patients increased from 63.5% in 2000 to 69% by 2016. So that's something that's worth looking into, because your diet is what directly impacts your health, what you eat and what you drink. And if you look at the 5 types of cancer represented in the majority of the cases in 2024, the majority of cancers these days, breast cancer is 7%. Other cancers are 56%, so that's the largest amount, the other cancers. Prostate cancer, it says, is 15%. Colon and rectum cancer, it says, are 8%. And pancreatic cancer is 8%. So I read pancreatic cancer like that because that's typically a death sentence when you get pancreatic cancer. So this is nice to see that these numbers are coming down. However, mortality and survival rates vary depending on the type of cancer. For instance, the National Institutes of Health estimates breast cancer will be the fourth highest cause of cancer-related deaths in 2023 and 24. Female breast cancer had the fifth highest relative survival rate between 2014 and 2020. They also expected esophageal cancer would make approximately 1.1% of new cases in 2024, but had the lowest relative survival rates between 2014 and 2020. So another piece of that is the type of cancer you get. It depends, your mortality greatly depends on that. When you look through the estimated deaths, the largest numbers on here, you had 53,000 that came from colon and rectum cancer. You had 42,000 that came from breast cancer. 18,000 from brain or other nervous systems cancers, 16,000 from bladder cancer, 14,000 for kidney and renal or pelvis cancer. So those are the big swingers in cancer. In 2000, the male cancer rate was 36.7, which is higher than the female cancer rate. So this is the last time they pulled this in 2020, and male fell to about 450. Where female was 396.5. So it's close. Male and female are close. But here's the point. The more chemicals we remove from our foods, the better. The red dye and yellow dye, I remember them talking about that 20 years ago. So now the FDA has banned this red dye. What we should expect to see in the next 4 years with Kennedy focusing on this a lot personally, I think that he'll be championing a lot of this. I also think that's why this happened right now, because they know this is coming down the pike. So why not start out with a step in the right direction here in January? So that's all, just a brief video on that. I thought that was interesting. This is something that's been used in our food for decades, and now it's poison, and you're going to see a lot of that come out in the next 4 years, and hopefully we'll remove as much of this as we can. If you like subject matter such as this and studies such as these, please like, please subscribe. I'm Ben. Be good.